Now, JPMorgan Chase's longtime CEO Jamie Dimon sounding like he may finally be ready to put a succession plan in place. He said at the bank's investor day that his timeline isn't 5 years anymore, and they are, quote, moving people around. So what does the future look like for America's biggest bank? We've got our very own David Hollerith with us for this conversation. David, thanks so much for coming in studio with us. Obviously, this is a big deal, but he did kind of tease out, well, maybe I'll stick around as chairman. So is Jamie Dimon really going away? And if so, what does that mean for the bank?
It's a good question, Maddie. I mean, I think the context is, for years, Jamie Dimon has sort of rebuffed attempts of pinning down his succession by explaining he'll be around for another 5 years. So this is sort of a definitive comment that he might not. It also lines up with 2026, which is something that we had been looking at based on his special retention awards for stock options, which expire, or at least he can exercise in July 2026. Obviously, he's a billionaire, so maybe the stock options aren't really the most important thing to him. But last year he also did allude to something like 3.5 years, which would be along that time frame too. And it wasn't clear whether or not it was a joke at the time. It was never clarified, but that's where we are now. And it makes for an interesting dynamic, because also JPMorgan has gotten a little bit more clear about telegraphing potential successors.
And who are those successors? Because we've heard a little bit more drips and drabs just about who might be considered. So when we think about how JPMorgan could potentially look under these successors, what is the thought there?
Yeah, I think the two clear front runners are Jennifer Piepszak and Mary Ann Lake. And until recently, they both headed the sprawling consumer and community bank of JPMorgan. And so now the dynamic has gotten interesting, because both have been around at JPMorgan longer than Jamie Dimon, and both have been in various CFO roles. But Piepszak is actually leading a new combined unit of the commercial bank and the investment bank, and that's a little bit more complicated than the consumer bank. So we'll want to pay attention to what's going on there as far as what might lead us to see who's in the leadership front-running position.
All right, David Hollerith, great to have you on set here with us. Thanks so much.
Great to be here.
For breaking down the biggest headlines that are coming out of JPMorgan's Investor Day.